Peter Johnson.
So Chad, you should know better than to ask them to welcome me. You don't ever clap for a speaker until you find out if they're any damn good or not. Good grief. So cool, thank you very much. And of course, I was here last year, and so this is kind of the next report on this. It is a cooperative project between both Thames Valley and the Heartland region, and some really cool results this year. So we'll run through just a little bit of preamble. And if you remember from last year, we talked about this last year as well, but I thought that we sort of needed to make sure everybody was on the same page. So the Roots Not Iron project really does look at 3 different treatments. And so we're looking at plant green, whereas essentially we try to have living roots there all the time. We plant into green living covers. We call that the Roots Not Iron approach, or whatever. I mean, Blake Vence definitely was the guy that came up with that hashtag, so full credit to him for that, and we're just trying to sort out if that works. We have the best management practice, and that is essentially just red clover and wheat. The problem is that, my farm is one of the farms that we do the research on, and I can never stinking get a good stand of red clover. I'm the red clover, the disciple or the, best supporter, and I'm the guy that never gets. So when we don't get a stand of red clover, we seed an oat pea mix into that. And just standard tillage, whatever the grower would do is their standard tillage in that best managed practice. And then the third one we call the no cover, so we don't ever plant a cover crop there. We try to take the volunteer weed out if we can after, and just sort of keep it, more of a previously conventional system. So this is the 2.0, right? So we had 3 years of Roots Not Iron 1.0, and we no-tilled into that green material. It was 100% no-till, that's what we did. And in the conventional tillage, some of that was actually moldboard plow. It all depended on the grower's conventional, but in the Roots Not Iron portion, the plant green portion, it was all no-till. And so what we found when we did that was we reduced corn yield on average 16.6 bushels per acre. We get delayed development in corn. We did not expect that, and I'll talk more about that, but that's been an issue. We reduced the soybean yield by 2 bushels per acre. The soybean stand we reduced by 10%. So we just, it was not giving us the outcome that we were really hoping for. The wheat crop, of course, wheat's the greatest crop there ever was on the face of the earth, and it was unaffected, as you would expect. But remember, we're planting the wheat after the soybeans, so it's not really plant green from that perspective, so that you wouldn't expect any different. And some of the things that we learned from that first 3-year effort, we got poor seed to soil contact. Man, if you slice through a root ball of cereal rye, or even worse, annual ryegrass, you can slice through it. You can open the slot, and you can put the seed where you want to put the seed. But when you try to close that slot, man, those roots are hanging onto that soil, and we tried spike closing wheels and everything we could do. We simply could not get good slot closure, could not get good seed to soil contact, and so we thought that was really part of the problem. The other one was that we learned all about annual ryegrass and the issues with annual ryegrass control. So we sort of thought, after introducing it on a few farms where it now still shows up in the winter wheat crop, and we wish the heck we'd never seen it, we thought we probably shouldn't spread it around the province anymore, so we took that out. And we also were using, because it's research, right? We want to make sure we have a stand, so we were using very high rates of the multi-species cover crop in the plant green to make sure we got a stand. And the gurus all kind of said, well, that's part of your problem because you just have too many plants there. So in Roots Not Iron 2, we try to fix a number of those. So now in our plant green, we are planting cereal rye post-harvest and took the annual ryegrass out at V6. So last year, we broadcast so in this fall of 2018, it was a wet fall, we weren't able to get in. If you recall, 19 was a wet fall, so was 18 at harvest. We simply couldn't get in to drill the cereal rye, so we broadcast. pretty mediocre luck with that. It did germinate, but we didn't get much growth. So this year, even though it was super late, we waited and we drilled the cereal rye after the corn came off. And we'll see if that works better, because that was drilled, if I recall right, December the 10th or something like that. Shane went out and frost seeded as the combine, as Ben was combining. Was that, what day was that, Ben? Do you remember?
12th or something like that.
December 12th? Yeah, December 12th. So Ben, and Ben was not going to combine our plots first, but you know you have a good technician because Shane was there with the drill and said, get the corn off. And so he did our plots first so that we could actually plant that cereal rye. So just a bit of fun. And cereal rye replaced the annual ryegrass as well in the multi-species mix because we just don't want to cause a problem. We've gone to a seeds per square foot approach with the multi-species mix so that we're not seeding nearly as high a rate, trying to get that in better shape. And we're now spring strip tilling prior to the corn crop. So trying to make that a better seed bed so that we don't have that root ball issue that we were experiencing. And we're wondering about earlier kill. In most cases, we have not gone to an earlier kill. We've sprayed post-planting. This spring, we did spray some pre-plant, and I'll explain why in a minute. And we've looked at different closing wheels. So I'll just buzz through the data reasonably quickly because I know you're on a fairly short time clock. The wheat yield, once again, is unaffected. And you can say, oh, 92 bushels per acre is higher than 90.6, but any good scientist will tell you that that's all NSD, right? No significant difference. Those numbers are all the same. And that's kind of what you would expect. Just a look at the different levels of cover that we got. So this is actually the fall of 2018, but you can see the multi-species mix on the left-hand side, the red clover on the right-hand side, and pretty good stand at that particular location. That's born home of both. You look at cover crop biomass after wheat. Shane didn't get that done in 2019, but certainly getting some biomass production, but not just a whack of biomass production. And you'd wonder how that little biomass would cause you an issue, but absolutely does. Yep.
When you planted your cover crop at Lucan, it was August 20th before you planted. Why was there a delay in there?
Yeah, so great question. The trick is that in the fall of 2018, we ran into some wet weather. I was combining. I didn't get quite done. And then it was 3 weeks before we got back in to finish combining. So were we a week maybe later than we could have been? Perhaps, but it's logistics, right? And would we plant earlier if we could? The answer is absolutely. But you do what you can do from that perspective. Good question. So this is the mess we ended up with this year. And I'm astounded at this. Because we had cereal rye as part of that multi-species mix, and most of the cereal rye winter killed. But this stupid turnip, wherever the heck the winter wheat wouldn't survive, but this useless turnip was just a nightmare. And it was not just at Lucan, it was at Bornholm as well, and it overwintered like a brute. And so and you all know what the spring of 2019 was like, and it got to be June the 3rd. And I was looking at this mess, and we were going to have to plant into it. And the sprayer was there, and I could no longer spray it with the research sprayer because it was so high, I couldn't get the boom over it. And so my custom app guy was there, and I just said, look, man, just go spray that shit. Like, get it out of there. And so in this particular case, we did kill it before we planted into it. Not necessarily what we wanted to, but when you're planting corn June 9th and June 10th, it's just the year. So the other thing we did is you look at greenness, and so that's just this Canopio app from Oklahoma State, a little bit of fun. And you can see that in 2019, where's the pointer? There, oh, yep. In 2019, we did not have, this by the way is at corn emergence. So after the corn was planted and where the very first plants were coming up, and the reason we do it then is because we want to know if we have green because of Clarence Swanton's work that says that green makes the corn plant change how it grows. And so I would say we've done, for the most part, in 2019, with the strip tiller and everything, we did a pretty good job of making it not green. I think that's what we want to do. The other thing that we did do in these plots is the flag test. And I talked about this last year as well, but we're flagging individual corn plants when they come up. And this has been really interesting. We definitely get some benefits of strip tills. So this is 2018. Wasn't just perfect. This is 2019 at the Waterloo location. And so we now have a pretty nice strip where it's black and warms up, and theoretically we would expect things to work pretty well. So that's been cool. And then you say, well, what's the benefit of strip till? Well, when you spring strip till and you're trying to go through that mat, like it just is a real challenge. So we actually, Warren, we strip tilled twice trying to make a seed bed and get it to, at least at my farm we did. I think at Bornholm, Ben was better. He only strip tilled it once, but it still maybe isn't the whole answer when you get to be that much of a mat. So here's the corn development, and this is the one that continues to haunt us, and this is just this year's data. So in the past, in our first effort, we really noticed that where we have the plants come up on day one, that when we get over here to the roots not iron, we start losing in terms of, they came up the same day, and I have eight leaf tips where I have the conventional. I have 8 leaf tips now at the BMP. The roots not iron, I'm a full leaf tip behind. So even though it emerged on the same day, it's developing slower. And we didn't expect to see that in Roots Not Iron 1. We wondered if we would take that away with the strip tiller doing that. And the answer is, so far, no. We're still seeing that reduced development despite that tillage, and the greenness doesn't seem to be the issue, and it's still slowing down. And that's the same all the way through. You can see we're still, you can see we're still also a little bit behind in population. We're still not getting quite as good a population with the plant green, the roots not iron. Even though we're strip tilling, we're still not managing to quite catch up. So you look at these emergence and yield data, and I find this really interesting. So again, this is not quite as clean as it was a year ago, but a year ago it was sort of, you lose 5% every time you're a day late. Now, this data isn't quite that clean, but it's close, right? So maybe we're losing on average 4% for every day that corn plant emerges later. And we're planting deeper, right? So we've gone to planting deeper to try to overcome that. We're planting 2.5 inches deep in these trials. And we're still seeing that, big delays in emergence. And by the way, you ever get to be beyond that 5 days late, which is really 4 days late, and the yield just tanks. And we saw that last year as well. So here's the really exciting stuff. So this particular site is the Bornholm site. So this is 5 years now, right? And if the soil health benefits are ever going to work, then they really have to start showing up. And yeah, if you look at this is the first time we've ever, remember the Roots 1, we lost 17 bushels per acre. This year at Bornholm, we actually gained yield in the Roots Not Iron treatment. Even though it was delayed in development, we gained yield. And you just go, wow, like, is that real? Is that just an anomaly? What is going on? Does it take 5 years? And my answer is, we really don't know. At Elmira, it was silage corn, which was a real pain in the neck to harvest, right? Like, that is just fun, but we did it. And again, at Elmira, the Roots Not Iron is right up there with the best of them, and you say, well, that's pretty interesting. But then if we, if we go and we look at all the different locations, if I look at 2019 Lucan location, we're still a little bit behind. So we're 203 versus what, 211? So we're still not quite there at the Lucan site, and they've all been 5 years. So you just go, wow, is it the year, is it the site, or are we actually getting better? And my answer is, I can't tell you that, right? We're going to do it again next year. That's hopefully we'll find out. But really exciting to finally get there. With soybeans, or this, actually that's just a picture of the cereal rye growing between the corn stalks. We're hoping it looks that good come spring. Soybean stand counts, we continue to slip a little bit in terms of our average soybean stand count in this root NotIron in the plant green, but it's not a big deal. It doesn't seem to cost us a whole lot of yield. And you can see that this year at Arthur in 30-inch rows, using a good planter, that actually ended up equal, so good, making some headway. And as well on soybean yields, not really giving up nearly as much. We were giving up that 2 bushel. It looks like in these sites that we're getting away from any yield loss in the soybeans. So I think we're figuring that one out, which is exactly where we want to be. So, you know, at the end of the day, kind of to wrap it up, 2 out of 3 corn sites, we at least equaled or increased yield. The strip till definitely improves emergence. We used to always have lower, slower emergence. We're now equaling the emergence date, but we're still lower on stand count. We're still slower in early growth and development, and maybe we've figured it out on both soybeans and wheat. With that, I'm out of time, and we'll stop. Questions or...
We'll take one question.
Yep.
So the yield boost on the roots iron with the cover crop, do you think this summer when it was in that dry period that it was maybe that sod that held the moisture that gave you the bit of yield?
Yeah, so the question is, we got a yield boost this year. Is that due to the sod helping hold the moisture? Well, you know, if we've increased the organic matter level, organic matter, better soil structure, you hold more water, so we would hope that has had something to do with it, but we simply don't know, right? That's just a guess, right? Cool.
Did your wheat was delayed, did you have the old white combine, or was that with the new John Deere combine?
Yeah, no, so the wheat was delayed, but that year was still with the white. I'm on the new John Deere combine now, baby. Look out, we're gonna really set.
All right. Can you thank Peter?
Yeah, so that's sort of where we're at right now with this project, right? We stood her up, but she ran away again. Cool.
We're still gonna clap. All right. So the next